Revelation 3:8 I know thy works. Behold, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it. For thou hast a little strength, and hast kept my word, and hast not denied my name.
Hello together. First, at the beginning of this little update, I want to apologize to all the people who were so kind to post their prayers in my comments and also in other people's comment sections, and with whom I have been in communication via email and other means. And yeah, I'm really sorry that I have left you hanging for so long without any update. Frankly, I had my doubts to even produce this prayer request just for the reason that I didn't know when I would be able to produce this update. And I did it nevertheless, because since the situation is very difficult, I said, okay, I will have to take that risk. But nevertheless, again, I'm sorry for leaving you uninformed for such a long time. I believe I have written some comments with some updates, but these comments are more small glances. They do not really give an overview. And since now almost 2 months have passed, and I had the time to clarify some thoughts, and also to go through further experiences that helped me to clarify, I think it's time now to give you an update and to tell you what's going on. And the first thing before I go into the details that I want to do is I want to thank everyone who has taken the time to pray for me, or who has been in communication with me. And I will try to post another video in which I will name every person that has contacted me based on that prayer request. And I have also to say that it was really a very nice experience to see so many people who have never met me in person care so much about this situation. And I wanted to let you know that I also care about your situation. It may not be the moment when I can really show this, but I'm a person who likes to return a favor, and I just want to let you know that in case you have anything you want to discuss with me, I will try to take the time or get this done. I take this very seriously. So now let's jump into the topic about more details about my situation. Just as a reminder, in the last video I had announced that I had an appointment with a doctor that was very important, and that I had a health problem that was is very elusive. And now I will give you more background about this topic. So to understand my situation, so this is the history. Last year I finally found a surgeon who has experience in the particular problem that I have with my spine, with the upper spine. And it took me almost 2 years in Germany to find someone who at least could give me some information about this. And through some help with a doctor who is basically treating me regularly, this contact was established. And it went all very well. I had 2 or 3 meetings, and then it was decided to cut this respective painful joint out, based on what I know and based on the research of this doctor. That's basically the only thing you can really do to alleviate the situation. And since this is only a small joint, it is not a very dangerous thing to remove it. And it's also on a long-term perspective, it is not weakening the spine to a dangerous degree. I was even told that there were people who had several of these joints removed, and they had no symptoms at all for decades after that. So I went through the diagnostics, and I had my surgery in June last year, and it went all quite well. The spot was seemingly identified, and this troublesome joint was removed, and the recovery went quite quickly and quite fast. It wasn't my first surgery, so not that I expected, but I'm kind of used to a kind of comparably quick recovery. And then I said to the doctors that I will give myself a couple of months' time to really evaluate how the situation improved, or if it didn't improve, after this surgery, because I had the experience many times before that even if the surgery wasn't really improving the situation, that I had the impression it's better afterwards. But I found that there's a psychological mechanism that explains this, because after the surgery you are relieved and your brain relieves endorphins, and then you are also in a position through the wound that was caused, where you do not really go into any strain with your body. So I said to the doctors, I will give myself a couple of months, I will observe how the situation will develop, and slowly and slightly it dawned onto me that something was not quite okay, because the wound healed quite quickly, but this, whenever I was standing for a longer time or tried to do something in an upright position, I noticed that this old pain came back. And I, after a couple of months, when I really saw that the pain of the actual surgery was gone and the old pain was still there, I made an appointment with the surgeon and discussed with him what to do, and also that I was very worried, because my experience is that when something does not really develop as it is expected, that doctors usually throw in the towel and say, okay, then you just have some chronification or some neurological pain, and that's not my problem anymore. And then you start basically from the beginning on. And this doctor told me that I shouldn't be too worried, that I could do some further diagnostics in the city close to where I live, and that I should come back in the beginning of 2018 in January, and if these diagnostics are delivering a clear direction, then he will just repeat the surgery with another joint, and so the problem will be eliminated. Unfortunately, when I went to this other appointment in January, suddenly there was another doctor, and suddenly the plan or the scheme was changed, and he said to me, okay, you should try to do some training, some slight training, and some kind of it's called conservative therapy. And I said, okay, I see why you have some doubts. Maybe the problem is coming from the wound healing, or it's because I didn't move a lot, and so the muscles have atrophied and so on. And then he said, you'll come back in April, and then if that didn't really help, then we will book you in, and then we will do another set of diagnostics, and then we will do the surgery. And after 4 months later, in April, now we are at the time when I produced this prayer request 2 days before this appointment. I produced this prayer request. I had this discussion with the doctor. Meanwhile, they moved to another hospital, but it's still the same personnel. And it turned out that he was basically telling me that even if the diagnostics are leading into a certain direction, that he wouldn't still not be able to guarantee me that they would also do the surgery. And there were some strange insinuations concerning pain medication, and I wasn't alone there. I had a bad feeling already concerning this appointment, so I took my father with me as a witness, and also to throw in some information or some lines in case the discussion goes out of the intended direction. So this discussion turned out very, very badly. The doctor told me I shouldn't be worried, and they will contact me, and they didn't contact me, and this was already the second time that they announced they would call me. I shouldn't worry, and again they didn't do it. And then I asked my doctor, my specialist, whom I'm consulting regularly, to write a letter, because the problem to me was really this uncertain situation. I even told the doctors already last year, and by the end of last year, when I came back with the pain and quite disappointed, I told them, you know, if for some reason you think this doesn't lead anywhere, the surgery, just tell me, and then I'm leaving, and that's it. The only thing I would like to ask you not to do is like leave me hanging there, like telling me everything is fine now, and then like after a year I'm not one step ahead, because I could use the time to find other solutions meanwhile. And yeah, now that's exactly what happened, and that's why I'm quite down. It's quite a psychological strain, and that's also the reason why I wasn't really able to upload an update, because I had to clarify my mind concerning all these things, so that I can also tell you what's really going on, and not just throw in some bits and pieces and let you make up your mind and put it together, and in the end we have a total misunderstanding, since I feel responsible to inform you properly, because I asked you for your help. So that is the situation right now. Now it's my specialist wrote a letter and requested a clear statement from this doctor, whether a further surgery is advised or not. Basically a yes or no is just a simple answer, and this letter was sent out 3 weeks ago, and there was still no reply. And I got the message from my specialist that basically if more than 2 weeks pass, that's basically a sign, how can I say it in not worldly terms, to that they are not interested, to say it very politely. So yeah, that's the situation. Now I'm checking options to put them under a little bit of pressure. Right now I do not really believe that a surgery or any kind of success with this personnel is graspable, so I will search for other places. The problem is really that this condition that I have is so-called costotransverse joint arthritis or arthrosis, and the problem is it's a very, very rare problem, especially the upper thoracic region that people have problems there is very rare. So it's maybe 1 in 10 of people who have back pain have a problem with the upper back, and then if you take this 10th, it's maybe 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000 who has this problem with this particular joint. And just for you to understand better, it's a joint that connects the ribs with the actual spine, and this joint is in motion when you breathe in and when you breathe out, and it's also in motion when you stand upright or when whatever you do. It's always in motion, so you cannot really lay down and kind of relieve the pain completely, because it's like if you have an arthritis in your knee and you would always move your knee, then you can imagine how this actually feels. And yeah, that's the situation. I felt the need to give you those details so you can really understand what's going on and why I'm so desperate to ask the body of Christ for prayers. And frankly, I'm puzzled concerning this entire situation, because I really do not understand why this is going on and what is going on, and yeah, all these difficulties. It took me 2 years to find a doctor who was willing to touch the case somehow, and now these people are refusing to even review the case. And yeah, I don't even know if there is another specialist in Germany who can do this kind of surgery. And the pain is so debilitating that basically I can be productive 1 to 1.5 hours a day, and the rest of the time I have to spend laying in my bed or in a reclined position on a sofa, because the pain is so unbearable. Deborah Gill made a comment just recently where she said that she hopes that people have compassion for chronic pain conditions in Germany. And I just wanted to let you know that generally I think Germany is not such a, whatever, it sounds crazy, but it's not such a bad place to, if you have a health problem. The problem with Germany is that whatever is very rare, when you have something that is very rare, you are really, yeah, again, I don't want to use a worldly term, it's a very difficult situation. The health care is optimized to the common diseases, and whenever you have something that maybe 1 in 1,000 or maybe just 1 in 100, and whenever you have something like this, it becomes difficult to find something who is willing to touch the case. And then we have also this kind of, I call it a medical sickness, when people and doctors believe just because there's nothing clearly visible on a CT, that just conservative measures will be sufficient, and that people really do not, for some irrational reason to me, they do not want to do surgeries anymore unless you have had a car accident and you are in a kind of, you have broken bones, and it's like a immediate aid required. Other than that, there's this sickness that scientists, which doctors claim to be, that they just try around with leeches and stuff, and instead of really researching the actual problem, and if possible and if necessary, just remove it. And that's actually the biggest difficulty that you are facing here. But in general, I wouldn't say that Germany or Germans are less empathic when it comes to pain than other countries. And if you have been into the topic of chronic pain, you may know very well that any kind of disease that is not visible is difficult in almost every country, because people are trained from their childhood to basically only show compassion for people with a visible illness, and whatever is not directly visible is quickly considered just a minor issue, and I think that's a worldwide problem. So I wouldn't say Germany is particularly good or particularly bad. It's like most Western countries. So this is just the information that I felt the need to add. And then I also wanted to discuss about certain changes in the format, since I'm not really able to produce videos in the way I was doing before. I had to think about changing the method of production. So I will try to reduce the amount of work I have to put into the video, but I will try to improve the frequency of videos so that this kind of long, this long pause with no information concerning my situation will not happen again. So I will change the format more to a video log or an audio log. I'm not sure about that yet, where I will basically use the same visual material for a number of times, and then just add my information in an audio format or in a video format, which makes it easier for me to inform you about the important topics. And maybe I'm getting accustomed to this format well enough so that I can also discuss doctrinal issues or biblical issues, and maybe there's a way even to script, to go back to scripting videos. I have an audio to script converter now, and I have some lightweight computational equipment like pads and stuff like that, which also eases the production to me, but I'm still about to verify these possibilities. This is just basically a quick video to keep you up to date, and also to give you some background about the situation, and also based on the feedback and based on what comes to my mind and what the Holy Ghost inspires me to talk about or convicts me to talk about, I will continue with this format. So I thank you again for all your help and your interest. And even if we have never met in person, I really felt the prayers. I may not, the situation may, from the outside, outward appearance may not have, may seem not to have improved. But there's a thing I can definitely say, that when I was in a very difficult situation or in a very dark hour, that I remembered that many of you are praying, and I would say that it definitely added to the strength of my faith. And as I wrote it already in a comment, even if the situation right now does not look as if this would be very efficient, I'm not in the position to really judge concerning this. My overview is very limited, and I believe, like any human's overview or understanding of particular situations can be very limited. So sometimes we just do not understand why things are as they are. Nevertheless, I believe that these prayers have an effect, and if they do not have an effect on my health, I believe definitely they have an effect on the body of Christ, and I'm quite sure they will have an effect in the future somehow, and I'm sure they also have an effect already. It's just that right now in my situation I'm maybe blind to these effects. So I would just ask you to continue with the prayers if it's okay for you. And I want to conclude with the topic that I started with. Again, sorry for leaving you hanging there, and thanks for listening to this audio. And God bless. And I hope to hear from you. You are always welcome to write in the comments or write me an email, and I will get back to you, and I will try to produce more material in this more simple format. Thanks and bye. And sorry, I have to add a little thing for the overall understanding. I just added at the end. I have researched the reason why this surgery was not successful in the relief of the pain, and I found out that the diagnostics that were done preliminary to the surgery have been incomplete. So what I want to say is, there was one level was done a diagnostic infiltration, and it was successful, and based on that this particular joint was removed. But the problem is that based on the discussions and on the CT imagery, there were also other levels in question, and for some reasons when these diagnostics were planned, the other levels were forgotten with the infiltration, and hence it could never have been found out if there's also the pain coming from other levels, and that's why I believe that these levels which were not reviewed diagnostically, why this particular joint or joints, why they are still causing this pain. And it's quite interesting that shortly before the surgery I contacted this doctor, and I told him that somehow I feel insecure, something is off, something is weird. I had this feeling that something was off, but I said I really didn't know exactly what it was. And after the surgery, after the first appointment, I reviewed the case, and it's quite clear that the diagnostics were incomplete, and that this is the reason why the surgery failed in relieving part of the pain. And of course, I don't know if you have ever experienced this, when certain therapies fail, there's a tendency of doctors to say, okay, then the pain source is maybe something else, maybe it's a chronification or a neurological component, or maybe even a psychological component, and then that's an easy way to say, okay, bye, I don't care anymore, it's now somebody else's problem. But in this particular case, I can really prove that this diagnostic, the diagnostics have been incomplete, and that's most probably this is the reason why the surgery failed in its in relieving the pain. So I have just to add this in case any questions are coming up when you listen to the first part. So this is just a little addendum so you can understand the situation better. And what I was basically trying was to get in contact with these doctors the last weeks just to discuss the matter. I'm not the person who just blames someone if something goes wrong, because I also do my own mistakes. That wasn't my point. What I tried was to say that I understand their concerns, that the pain source may be something else, but also to point them on the fact that the diagnostics were incomplete, and for that reason another attempt is justified. And unfortunately my specialist couldn't get through with this attempt, and now I have to check other options. So this is just for further information. So thanks for listening, and I hope to hear from you, and bye.